everybody, my name is Chef Stanley Townsend, and we're here today to share some tips and some tricks on how to make some tasty and nutritious dishes out of ingredients commonly found in the Edmonton Food Bank hamper. So stick around, we're going to have fun and we're going to get cooking. Keep it simple, keep it fun. Well, there's an old saying that bread is the staff of life, and certainly there's different types of bread around the world, whether we've got sourdough bread, pita, whether we've got naan, whether we've got baked bread. One thing is there's no shortage of bread at the Edmonton Food Bank. There's lots of bread. There are bread banks, bread drops around the city. So I try to incorporate a lot of recipes that include bread. There's different things to do with bread than just put it in the toaster. So we're going to make some croutons. And first of all, what I've got is got some olive oil, little olive oil there. And I'm going to put in various spices, a little paprika, certainly a little garlic powder, salt and pepper. Now, whatever you've got, if you only have salt and pepper, well, so be it. So we're going to sprinkle that in there. And we're just going to give it a quick mix. So you can see how the paprika gets some nice color to that. And lo and behold, I had a loaf of bread. It's getting a little on the old side. Well, that's great because day-old bread is the best bread for making croutons. So I've diced up that bread and I put it into the bowl. And all I have to do is mix that up just so the bread is getting a little seasoning on it. The oil is going to act as a transmitter of our seasoning. So salt, pepper, little garlic salt, little paprika, that's all you need. You can put in whatever you want. Now, this is going to make regular croutons, and these regular croutons you can put in your salad, you can put in your soup, you can actually use them just as a snack. You could put a little Parmesan cheese in there if you wanted to, but basically these are just nice seasoned toasted breadcrumbs. And we're going to put those in the oven for about 10 minutes or so at a lower temperature, about 350, just to cook them off and get them nice and toasty, right? So next recipe we're going to move on to is we're going to move on to a recipe for a bread salad. So the bread salad, same thing. What I've got here for the bread salad is I've got some tomatoes. I've got a mix of tomatoes. Now, bread salad was typically used in Italy. Bread salad is also called Panzanella, from the Latin, pan for bread. And I've taken these tomatoes and what I've done is lightly salted them, because what I want to do is I want to suck the juices out of it, and those juices will actually become part of the dressing. The same thing if you look at the cucumbers. I lightly salted those. So an equal part of tomatoes, cucumbers, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a half a part of the sliced onion and a half a part of sliced green pepper. Now, I'm a real stickler. I'm fussy about everything. And of course, Chef Townsend's rule of thumb is that anything that you use in the salad should be bite-sized. And bite-sized to me is the length of your thumb. There, I just proved it. So now what we're going to do is we're going to make a little salad dressing. For this, a little olive oil. We're going to put a little. Usually when we're making a dressing, it'll be 3 parts of oil to 1 part of vinegar, or as they say, be a miser with the vinegar and a spendthrift with the oil. We can season it up a little bit, same as we did with the croutons, but we don't have to season it too much. A little more garlic. You put a little oregano, you can put anything in there that you want. Now this combination, so we put in the cucumbers, right? About a cup or so of cucumbers, equal part of tomatoes, and then, as I said, a half a part of the onions and the green peppers. Mix it up. Looks good already. Now additionally, you could put an ingredient in there if you want to put a little oregano in there to give Mediterranean flavor, but that's basically it. Now this is actually the same mixture that you use for making a Greek salad, only with a Greek salad you just put in some feta cheese. But in this case, to spike it up a little bit also, we're going to put in a few black olives just because I have them. If you don't have them, you don't have them. If you only got tomatoes and onions, that's all you have to do. So there are no real, and of course then, the last part is we're going to add these croutons. Now these croutons I made out of a baguette. You can see they're fairly chunky and hunky. I want them a little larger so that they hold up. And we'll put those bread pieces in there and we'll mix it up. Now the idea is that bread is going to soak up the vinaigrette. I don't know if you've ever ate a salad with a vinaigrette on it and they got some bread on the table and what you like to do is sop up all the remaining vinaigrette. That's exactly what we're doing. So there you go. Panzanella, bread salad, and usually what you do is you leave it sit for at least 15 to 20 minutes until all of the juices have been absorbed by the bread. So you will still want the bread to be crispy and crunchy. That's why I've cut it a little bit on the large side. Hey, you ever wonder what am I going to do with those hot dog buns? Well, hot dog buns, you cut them up and they make nice, hunky, chunky croutons like this. This was actually made out of a baguette, which is a little stiffer bread. So there we go, Panzanella bread salad. What a beautiful salad to serve. Again, what I like is it's almost a meal in itself. You say man cannot live by bread alone, but add a few vegetables and you get a pretty good start. So now, again, the thing is this could be garnished with some herbs if you wanted to. I'm not all that fussy whether you put the herbs in or not. But again, a little fresh basil would be nice. In this case, you know, I grow my own herbs. All I'm going to do is put in a nice piece of fresh thyme in there. And look at this. Not only does this food taste good, it looks good. And if it looks good, it probably tastes good. Now there's something good way to use up your leftover bread.
Hi, I'm Marjorie Benz with Edmonton's Food Bank, and we're here today with Stanley, who's going to share some great options of what people can do when they have surplus stuff in their gardens, how they can use it in creative ways, as well as, you know, again, how you be creative so that your family and friends are just awed by what you're serving each day.
Well, one of our tricks of cooking is that we're cooking a lot of recipes that are actually vegetarian. But the secret to good vegetarian food is to know that it isn't vegetarian food. So we're going to use some of the bounty of Alberta, for instance, out of fresh out of the garden. Got a wonderful recipe for borscht, hearty recipe for borscht with the beets, the cabbage, the onions, the peas, the dill, you name it, everything's in that pot. We're also working on an Alberta bean, barley, and mushroom soup that is really food that schmecks. It'll really stick to your ribs. You make a big pot of that, and the wonderful thing about those soups is not only that they taste good the day you made them, but they taste even better in the second day. So we're kind of focusing on one pot of meals. Everything we do is quick. It looks good, it tastes good, but most importantly, it's got lots of nutrition in it. And if you're going to incorporate nutrition, you cook from scratch, and that's what we're doing here today.
Well, you've made me very hungry, Stanley, so let's start cooking.
Okay, thanks, Marjorie. Welcome back. we're going to get into a segment where we're going to actually focus on Alberta food. Alberta food, I'm going to talk about food that was all grown within 100 miles. So this soup is called Alberta bean, mushroom, and barley. Of course, we grow lots of barley in Alberta, so let's start off with our mirepoix. For a mirepoix, for any soup, we contain equal parts of celery, onion, and carrot. So we're just going to stir that up, and of course we want to develop those flavors. So when you're sauteing your vegetables off, good idea to put the salt and the pepper and fresh or powdered garlic, whatever you've got, into the soup now. So as you can see, we're going to stir it up. This equal combination of vegetables is called a mirepoix. And it is the base of the foundation of any good soup. And we're just going to saute that until till basically the vegetables start to sweat off, or the onions turn clear. So we put in those root vegetables. We also have some other vegetables we're going to add some robust. Now, one of the reasons I chose this soup is you all get a can of beans in your hamper. What the heck do we do with those beans? Well, we're going to build this whole soup. We're going to put all these ingredients in with the beans, and we're going to transfer this can of beans to something very, very tasty. So, to add a little bit of sweetness, I've got some diced turnip. And of course, to really substitute the meat, we're going to put in some mushrooms. As you can see, we're going to cook all that up. We're also going to add some fresh shucked peas from my garden. Look at that. Looks colorful enough. We don't even have to add the broth to it. And we're just going to let that cook off a little bit till it sweats off. Get our burners going here. Okay. Cooking until the onions turn clear. You smell that beautiful aroma. If you wanted to put a little fresh thyme in there, that's fine. Once those vegetables are sweated off, we are going to add our stock. Stir that around. And we're just going to bring that to a brisk boil. And that soup should be ready in about 15 minutes. Once it comes up to the boil, you can actually add your barley. I would put about 1 cup of cooked barley into this soup. But I've already cooked the barley off 1 cup. You can see it makes about 3 cups. And then at the end, we're going to add our canned beans. But at this time, we can add our parsley, our fresh parsley to it. Also going to give a lot of flavor, lots of different color. And we'll just let that simmer. When it comes to a boil, we'll add our remaining ingredients. So we'll just let it sit there and simmer for about 15 minutes. So the soup is simmered there for a good 20 minutes. All the vegetables are soft. We've extracted the flavors. You wondered what you could do with that can of beans. We're going to add that can of beans. Now, any kind of bean could be added to the soup, whether it's a black bean, a chickpea, or you can actually cook your own beans. And we're going to add this very large amount of barley. Now, I've pre-cooked that barley. You don't have to pre-cook it, but I like to pre-cook it. Like that. Once you're simmering the vegetables, you can throw your barley in at that time, but tends to make the stock a little cloudy. Now look at that soup. Doesn't that look great? I mean, when we talk about nutrition, this is really the flavors of Alberta. Beans, barley, mushrooms, fresh vegetables from the garden, a little sweetness of the rutabaga, sweetness of the bean. Wow, this is yummy, yummy, good for the tummy. And we're just going to ladle that up like that. Now, doesn't that? Let's put a little more broth in there. And I guarantee you that this soup tastes good now, but it'll taste even better tomorrow. It tastes so good that I've actually ate it without even heating it up. It's just a great nutritive soup. Celebrates the very best of Alberta. Alberta, bean, barley, and mushroom soup. Enjoy. We're going to make a recipe. One thing about the food bank is there's no shortage of bread there. There's lots of bread. And what we want to do is we want to incorporate recipes. We made a bread salad with it. Last cooking show, a couple of cooking shows ago, we made a delicious peach and bread pudding with it. Today we're going to make a popular recipe that's called Wife Saver, Life Saver. It's a popular recipe. It's kind of a glorified quiche / bread pudding. So we're going to start out with some eggs. We've got generally about 6 eggs of this recipe, and we're going to use about 3 cups of milk. We're going to stir that up. We're going to kick it up with some Worcestershire sauce. Give it a little kick, a little spice. We're going to put in some dried mustard, a combination of dried mustard, some salt and some pepper all together. So this is going to really kick it up. The dry mustard is really, really compatible with bringing out the flavors in cheese. So once we've got that done, we're going to I've taken about 8 slices of white bread. You can leave the crusts on, but for this recipe, it seems to fit. And in this particular case, I'm going to pour half of that mixture on to soak up the bread. Usually this recipe is made the night before Christmas or something like that. And you can put it into the cooler and just leave it in there and then bring it out and bake it in the morning. That's why I'm putting and so we've got lots of cheese here, grated cheddar, whatever type of cheese you've got. We're going to put a little protein in here. Some people actually like to put sliced ham. You could use sliced turkey. You can use any luncheon meat. In this particular case, I've got some of my favorite luncheon meat. It rhymes with Stan. And I'm going to put an ample amount of that in there. So diced ham, diced luncheon meat, whatever you want, put it in there. So sometimes you get that can of luncheon meat, you don't want to know what to do with it. Well, here's a way to make a complete meal. And look at that. Good food always looks good. So we're using lots of different combinations of dairy products, eggs, milk, cheese, like a glorified omelet. And then we're going to put in another few slices of bread across the top. So really what it is it is kind of like a bread pudding, or it's a double-decker quiche, whatever. They're all the same dishes. The eggs and the cream together basically make a custard. So we put all that in there like that, and then we're going to top it with the remaining seasoned custard mix, which is the eggs and milk. Get it all soaked up. Good. Put it in there with a couple of layers like that. And now, the pièce de résistance. I can still put a little more cheese on the top here since I have some. Might as well use it all up. I'll put the remaining some green onions, and I still got a little bit of remaining. This was 1 can of the type of lunch meat that rhymes with Stan. Which is a pretty good quality luncheon meat. If you don't believe me, you can ask any Hawaiian. And on top of this, what we're going to do is we're going to cover the whole top with corn flakes. Now these corn flakes I got are the low calorie example of corn flakes. Put it in there. Hey, makes a nice casserole. And then just to provide a little additional moistness, we're just going to cover that up with a little. So, Christmas morning, any morning, Easter morning, Monday morning, Tuesday morning, Saturday morning. You want to make this recipe in the morning, take the kids out, go to the park, do your thing, come home, slip it into the oven, leave it in the fridge overnight, or you can bake it right from the start. But this is a great casserole to make ahead of time, and then it's all you got to do, come home, put it in the oven, and it's ready. So we'll bake that for about an hour at 350. Look at this beautiful dish. It's called Wife Saver. It's a glorified savory bread pudding or a custard. Usually you can tell when it's done. You usually put the knife in, just like a pumpkin pie. If the knife comes out clean, it's done. Very, very savory dish. You can see how the cornflakes with the butter have crisped up. This is going to add some nice texture to it. What a beautiful, beautiful dish. So try that one out with your next loaf of bread. Instead of making 3 or 4 luncheon meat sandwiches, dice it up, take a little cheese, take a little green onion, eggs, milk, bake this beautiful casserole. And I guarantee you there is probably about a good 8 portions in there, right? So you can eat, you can also eat this either hot or you can eat it cold. Should come out of the oven, let it set for 10 minutes before we cut it up, let it set, and eat what you want, refrigerate the rest, and you can eat it the next day, just straight out of the pan. Beautiful, beautiful dish. Keeping it simple, cooking it simple. Enjoy. Okay, folks, we're going to make a dessert dish. And when I retired from NAIT, my colleagues got together and bought me a little ukulele, which I love to strum. And one of the favorite songs I play is Ain't She Sweet? Well, so I guess they were talking about this dessert, which is a dessert for caramelized bananas. So as you can see, we've melted a couple of tablespoons of butter, margarine in there. And then we're just going to add the brown sugar. And we're going to slowly let that mix together. If you put a little more sugar, what the heck, why don't we put all the sugar in there? And we're just going to let that very, very carefully caramelize over low medium heat. Good? Now, that is going to be the sweetness in the dish. And everybody's got bananas. Sometimes those bananas get a little overripe. This is an excellent way to use up those bananas. They're a little soft side. Kids love bananas, and this is one way to really get them to eat it. All we do is we're going to take those bananas, split them. As you can see, the caramel is starting to bubble now. This is actually the non-alcoholic version of a classic dish called Bananas Foster, which was invented by a maitre d' down in Brennan's restaurant in New Orleans. So we got that bubbling up, smelling good, looking good. Want to kick it up a notch, add a little cinnamon to it. Put the bananas in there, flat side down, all the way around. That's good. See, we're just going to saute those up there. We're not sauteing them up for a long time. We're just sauteing them up till they get soft. And as you can see, the caramel is sticking to them. And this is a great dish. You can serve this warm. You've got vanilla ice cream. Works well. If you really want to get your kids to eat a nice healthy dish, look at that. How simple is that? Would that take a couple of minutes? Cook up the dessert. Now, for the adult version of this, what we would do is we put in a jigger of rum, and we'd flambe that, and that would be a Bananas Foster, but this is a kid-friendly version. And there's no rum in the food bank hamper, at least not any of that I've seen. And we're going to serve it up. Look at that. We got a good picture of that. So what I've got here is, I don't have any ice cream, but I've got some yogurt. And this yogurt happens to be banana flavored yogurt. So we're going to put a little yogurt in there as a base. Nice. And then we're just going to simply pick up our bananas and lay them on top. 1 or 2 bananas per serving. Oh, they're nice and hot and tasty. And there we go. Put a little more of the caramel sauce right across the top. Does that look good? Fresh out of my herb garden this morning. Beautiful mint. We're going to put that mint in there as a garnish, just to zhuzh it up, and you can smell that mint, can't you? Look at that, what a beautiful, elegant dessert. And if your kids don't like that, good cooking, keep it simple, have fun, make it look good, make it taste good, cook from scratch, and you'll be famous. Thank you everybody for joining us. I hope you had some fun today. I hope you learned a few tips and tricks on how to stretch that food dollar, and hope to see you again on Cook It Simple.